Hi, this is Kim, and I want to welcome you to our Israel Reborn to Rise event. Enjoy. Okay, well, I want to welcome everyone to this event. We're starting it off right now. This is what we're going to call a transition event. We titled this event Reborn to Rise, and that is the story of Israel. So I want to introduce Major Yakkov Selavan, since we are now in the last hour of Yom HaZikaron. Thank you, Yakov, and thank you so much for joining us.
Okay, it's a pleasure to be with you guys, and I'll say to those who are not in Israel that right now we have entered the most Israeli moment of the year. I always tell people, if you want to understand Israel, you need to come around 6:30 p.m. on Yom HaZikaron. Because what's going to happen is that a second ago I finished a phone call of condolences to a mother of a friend who was killed, and before that to my cousin who lost his brother in the war. And when I leave this talk, I'm going to have a barbecue and a big celebration with music and write a special prayer in honor of the day. And if not for COVID-19, we'd be partying our butts off. So just an hour ago, we were crying. And now in this exact hour, we're taking the transition from death to life. And that's what I want to talk about maybe, because this is really the story of the state of Israel within 1 hour. Sum it all up to this hour. You pay a very heavy price for your freedom, but there's a purpose. And you need to celebrate the life while you remember. You always look backwards, but you're always looking forward. You're not just sinking in the sadness. You're also always saying people died for us, so we need to make the price worth it, and we need to live. And living is living life to its fullest. So with that said, I'm going to share my screen. I'm just going to say a sentence about myself. I'm 32 years old. I'm married. I have two daughters and 3/4. We're expecting any moment to go into labor. So you got me in a good time. I live in the Golan. Thank you. I live in the Golan Heights by the border with Syria. And as Kim mentioned, I'm a major in the IDF. This is also something new because I got my new rank just a few days ago. When Kim and the group met me, I was still a captain. I served in the IDF for a decade. And for the last 3.5 years, I've been serving in reserves. So that's just a word about myself. And you see me here feeling at home with my regular t-shirt. Just for the fun of it, I will... I'll share my screen. So I don't know if there's any parents to teenagers here. Kim, can you allow me to share the screen?
Yes.
Okay, I'll wait for a second.
I will do that right here. Yes, here, it's all yours.
Okay, there you go. So, wait 1 second. I'll just say now in 2020, I'm a reserve duty officer. Just 3.5 years ago, I was still active in a tank unit called the 188, which I still serve in reserves. If you have children or grandchildren that are teenagers, so I'll give you some hope. I'll tell you a secret. I wasn't born a captain. This is me at age 17. So there is some hope. Okay, if you're thinking of that obnoxious grandson or son of yours, it's all going to work out at the end. So with that said, I want to share with you maybe 2 very special moments and 1 place in the Golan, and I'll try doing it all in just a few minutes because my wife needs me available, as you can understand. So I think my whole perspective on Yom HaZikaron changed in 2014 when I took part in the last Gaza campaign, Operation Protective Edge. And if you would talk to me in 2013, then I would tell you I understand it's very unique. It's a very special day. I don't really connect it. And something happened to me in 2014 that changed my whole perspective on memory and how you view what was here before us. So I want to share with you maybe the most meaningful night in my service, but before that, just a personal note, because my little brother is here with us, and he's going to be joining. He's going to also be addressing you. Maybe the worst day I had in all my service was July, if I remember correctly, the English date, it was July 22nd, 2014. We were supposed to enter Gaza that night, but early morning, it was Sunday. Early Sunday morning, we were woken up and we were told there's another unit, not my unit, my tank unit, an infantry unit that was in trouble. They had 13 soldiers killed and many, many casualties, and they needed urgent help. That unit happens to be the unit that my little brother serves in. This is me here. This is my little brother. This is Gaza 2014 in a training center just by the border, preparing to go in. And when we are driving with our tanks and jeeps and everything towards the place where the other unit's in trouble, I'm not really thinking about the other units. I'm thinking about, as it says in the Bible, I'm my brother's keeper, right? God asks, are you, right, in Genesis, he asks, he asks, where's your brother? And he says, am I my brother's keeper? The answer is yes, I'm my brother's keeper. And my mission is to go save my brother. That's all I'm thinking about. I'm thinking about if God forbid something happened to my brother and I wasn't there, what do I tell my mother? Thank God my brother was in the battle, but he wasn't hit. And you can see us a few weeks later, we even got to visit him when he was finally got a good shower after a couple of weeks inside. So my wife and I were able to come and visit him on the border. But that was for me a very, very moment where you're doing something for the whole nation of Israel, but it's something that becomes very, very personal. You're thinking about one person. So that's the first moment. I will say, you see here, the newspapers, the web from the next day, horrible day. And in that day, of course, thank God my brother's alive. I did lose two friends that day. And the first one was Captain Tzvika, who served in the famed Golani Brigade. Tzvika was an amazing commander, an amazing educator also, and a great family man. He left behind a wife and two little sons. And just a day later, Captain Dima Levitas, Dimitri, right here in the center, was killed in his tank. He was a fellow tankist. We actually served in the same team. You can see me right above him here. Dimitri served as a tank captain, just like I was. And we were in the same crew actually for 2 years. He was killed by a sniper while he was in his tank. So within 24 hours, I lost two friends. And this thing can really affect not just your personal feeling as a friend, but also your morale. Going into battle, when I go into Gaza, just after this horrible day, I feel very vulnerable. And when I'm inside there, this is a lookout we made in honor of Dimitri here in the Golan Heights where he lived. And when I went into Gaza, you can see the pictures here from inside. I'm in my first night in a neighborhood in Gaza, surrounded by these buildings you see around me. And, I'm a human being and I'm scared. And I need to find something to hold on to because I know what happened to my friends. I don't want to join them as much as I love them. I'd rather stay alive. And since I'm very, very scared, I need to find something to hold on. Now, what I found to hold on was my friends. At first, when I was thinking of how they died, I was scared because I didn't want to join them, right? I'm next in line. But then I transitioned my state of mind and I tried focusing on the life. How did they live? What did they live for? And I found different points in their lives and their personality and their character, which I was able to hold on to. They were both very courageous. For example, one of them, Tzvika, always talked to his soldiers and to us, to his friends, about the fact that there's a chain of generation. Kim spoke about 2,000 years in exile, and then the Jewish people return here. And he always said, we're here in 2014, but really, we are continuing the Maccabees. We're continuing Joshua, right? We're continuing King David. Now it's our turn. And so when I was thinking about that perspective, suddenly I felt I'm part of something bigger. And I understood that many people were here where I'm standing today and I'm scared for my life, but I realized that everyone was scared for their life. The Maccabees were scared. The fighters of 1948 were scared. The fighters of the 6-Day War were scared. but they all were able to overcome their fear and do what they had to do. And if so many people have been here before me and have been able to overcome their fears, then I have the same strength, and that's what allowed me to get through it. Coming out of Gaza, I want to end with this, and I'll give you a taste of what Kim experienced with me in the Golan. Coming out of Gaza, I made sort of an oath that my life mission would be to take that perspective. When someone dies, you want to try focusing. When someone dies for the state of Israel, when we're talking about Yom HaZikaron, the reason why I never connected is because A, the stories weren't brought on in an interesting way to me. And B, it was just depressing. All I heard about was sadness and death. And I had no hope in this day. So what I try doing today is not only with groups from abroad, also groups from Israel, is connecting them in an interesting, attractive way to the stories of the past so they understand that they're part of something bigger. And I try every time we go somewhere to take one of the people who died in the battle, but I try taking him and showing how he lived. And I tell people he was a very special person. He was willing to give his life for us, right? So of course he's very special. Let's make the price worth it. Let's take something from his life, and every day we wake up in the morning, how am I bringing this into my life? So one of the places that became the center of my activity is this place here, the site of Tel Saki. You can YouTube it. You can see I was also interviewed about on this topic. Also, there's an incredible movie you can see. Part of it, it's called The Battle Over the Soul. To make a long story short, because I want to also you guys to hear my little amazing brother, I'll just say we're in the south of the Golan Heights. This is Syria right here, if you see my screen, and this is Israel here. Very few tankists and paratroopers, I'm talking about less than 20 Israeli soldiers, are standing around this hill fighting a whole Syrian division. We're talking about hundreds of tanks, thousands of artillery shells, thousands of soldiers, and they are able to hold back the Syrians for a couple of hours, which are very crucial hours for Israel. The reason why there's such few soldiers here, it's because we're talking about 1973, the Yom Kippur War. It's the holiest day of the Jewish calendar, right? People are at home fasting or praying. Israel is not prepared for war, unfortunately. The intelligence fails to warn. And so it's all a battle over time. The Syrians want to conquer the whole Golan Heights in 12 hours, and these soldiers need to somehow, against all odds, slow them down. They manage to slow them down for those crucial hours. And at some point, the battle is so there's so many casualties, they call for reinforcements. The reinforcements fail because the Syrians have already conquered this valley here. And many, many soldiers, you can see the monument here. I'm going to close up on it very soon. But dozens of soldiers were killed trying to rescue their friends on this hill. Some of them managed to get through the Syrians and join their friends, but they end up all, on Sunday morning, October 7, 1973, they all end up having to retreat. Now, they can't really retreat because this hill, maybe I'll try giving you a better view in a second. This hill is surrounded already by Syrian troops. The only place they were able to go to is this little room here. I hope everyone sees, you see this little bunker here? It wasn't underground. This room, okay, this is the room. This is a picture from 1989. Okay, look at the size of the room, how small it is. Okay, let's look inside again, how small it is. And again, I want you to get a taste of the room. Look how many soldiers are in here with me now in a motivational talk. Look how it's all stuffed, okay? This little space was built to hold 6 soldiers. There were also 3 bunk beds in here, so that's how we know for sure. 28 Israeli soldiers came into this space. They were without food, without water, and without ammunition, nothing left to protect themselves. And the Syrians came up the hill and surrounded the bunker. If I would be able to allow everyone watching this conversation, if I would ask you, how much time did it take the Syrians to kill everyone? Between 5 seconds to 5 minutes, right? Agreed? I can see your heads nodding, right? Does it make sense, right? A whole Syrian battalion comes up the hill, soldiers who can't protect themselves. This room, all you need is 1 tank shell, you knock it down. So now I'm showing you a picture. These are the survivors returning to the bunker with their grandchildren. See here. Okay, they survived, they're alive today. They survived in this bunker for 36 hours until they were rescued by Israeli troops. Today, we held, for the first time ever, unfortunately, we had to hold a Zoom ceremony there, so I helped them put it together. We had a camera there, but we had everyone there on a very big Zoom. Now, these soldiers for 30 years, for different reasons, which I won't go into now, didn't meet. The picture you see here is 30 years after the war. Finally, they're ready to meet and talk about their experiences. And ever since, they have a reunion twice a year. One time is Yom HaZikaron, and this year they had to do it on Zoom. The second time they meet is what I'm going to show you, and I'm going to end with the story of the flag. If you saw here, you saw the amazing, impressive flag here, one of the largest flags in Israel. So every year they come on October 8th, right? Remember, October 6th, the war began. 2 days later, if I go to here, I'm giving you English dates not to confuse you, but we're talking about 2 days after the holy day of Yom Kippur, the holy day for Jews, the fast day. They come here. Why do they come on that date? Because if you count 36 hours in the bunker, that is 2 days. The day they were reborn, the day they were liberated, they were brought from the darkness and from hell back to life, is 2 days after the Yom Kippur fast. So they come here and they throw a party. And I mean a party. I'm talking about wine, I'm talking about cakes, music. It's a party. It's the best party in town, by the way. And they always begin with a ceremony here by the monument with the faces of their fallen friends. And remember, we spoke about life and death mixing together? Here is death, and here is life, and it's one next to another. These are the survivors with their children and grandchildren, and they're putting up the flag. Look how big it is when they're all standing around it. It's a huge flag, and they always put it up. And today, I voluntarily, I'm their representative on site. I always take care of the flag. And many times the flag, you can even see in the first picture I put that the flag keeps on ripping. 1 second. See, the flag is ripped here. 1 second. The flag is ripped. It always rips, it falls, it gets sturdy. And I can tell you, it takes up a lot of my time to repair this flag each time. And one time I told one of the fighters, I said, listen, maybe what we should do is we should take it down sometimes. You know, here now it's ripped. Let's take it down for a few weeks and we'll save some money because we're not rich, or right? Your organization of the survivors is not rich. Each flag is $1,000. Let's leave it down for a few weeks, let's say during the winter, and then we put it up at springtime, right? And the chairman of the organization, by the way, he lives in the States. He was from the rescue team. He actually rescued his friends who were besieged in the bunker. He said to me something that I always quote. He said to me, after everything we went through in this battle, we saw hell, we saw darkness, we saw our best friends dying in our hands. We are all scarred physically and mentally. You can understand after everything they went through here, these guys all had PTSD, big time, okay? He said, we had every legitimate reason to let go of life. That's it, to just let it go. But we all together made a strategic choice, which is called life. We chose to live. We chose to build homes, to get married, to have children, to have grandchildren. And this is our message. This hill, and everything I'm saying now about Tel Saki, do copy paste, and it's going to be the story of Israel, okay, and the Jewish people. This hill is not a hill of death. It's a hill of life. Freedom has a price. You pay a price for your freedom. Amen. And it hurts, and it's painful, and you struggle for it, right? You fall down on your knees, you're bleeding, you're hurting, and then you get back up on your feet. There's just no other choice. And so when people come here, he says, I can't sleep at night if I know that one day there's no flag, and one person comes to the hill. He comes here, right? The mast has no flag on it. He looks here and he says, wow, this is so sad. They're so young and beautiful, and what a shame, they died. He comes out depressed from this place. He says, I can't sleep if I know someone took that message. I need them to take the message of life. You pay a price, but you don't just think about how they died. You think about what they lived for. and you try bringing in their lives, their values into your life, and you always continue. And when you see the flag, the Jewish star, the Star of David, and you see this impressive flag, you can ask him, the first picture, the first selfie you take when you come to Tel Saki is the flag. It's just so impressive. And then you start asking questions, what happened there? So that, with that message, I think is the most proper thing to end Yom HaZikaron and go into Yom HaAtzmaut. And really, this is not just the story of these brave fighters. They're just a symbol of this Israel. Freedom has a price, but you always have to ask yourself, how do I make the price worth it? And how do I continue living and not just, I would say, sinking in the sadness and darkness of death? Guys, I have to run to my wife. So it was a great, great pleasure. The rumor says that my little brother is much better than me. So
you both are amazing. Yaakov, I want to thank you so much.
My pleasure.
Yaakov, I want to say, everybody, I want you to know that we had posted it, but we're posting again. Yaakov has an initiative to send flowers to all of the parents of the soldiers, because the soldiers are in quarantine. They can't reach their families. So I want you to know that I will be, with the replay, I'll be sending that out, and
Amazing.
anyone that can be a part of that and send flowers to these parents of the soldiers that are here in the IDF, that would be amazing. So I want to thank you for that, even in advance. Thank you so much.
Thank you very much.
I look forward to being in touch. Okay, and when we can get back to Israel, we'll do a lot more tours.
For sure.
Okay.
Amen. Amen to that.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Bye-bye.